Thank you very much. So I'm going straight to the topic. So as I knew, because I'm last, so that it'll take more time a little bit, so I will try to be a little bit shorter. So my presentation is actually more philosophical because you had hard topics all the day, so I thought maybe to spark some questions and discussions. So bear with me. It gets a little dark, but eventually it will come through, and maybe we will finish with a bright note. So I'm CEO of Industrial.io. I also have another company called Engman Arcon. I'm in BIM for 10, 11 years now, and it started with my bachelor's thesis. So around at the same time I found out about this thing called Revit, and it just blew my mind, and I jumped into it and learned it in 2 weeks, and modeled whole bachelor's thesis with Revit. I even send data to structural analysis tools, and actually it wasn't accepted very good, because all the committee which evaluated my thesis thought it was cheating. So yeah, but my professor saw this, and he was starting this initiative called Digital Construction in Lithuania. So he took me there. We were 3 people, and from 3 people in 2 years it grew to about 100 people, and we still have the biggest conference in Baltics. Maybe it's not the biggest already, I don't know actually, but it was for quite some time, and it inspired government to do things. And now I'm working with a project called BIM LT, which where we create regulation document templates, and what's most important is that we work on government systems that would allow data access through APIs. So as I'm getting older, BIM gets even more. And just to give you some context, this is the technology around which was presented as a cutting edge around the same time as BIM was introduced by Autodesk white paper. So looking at it, it gives a feeling of nostalgia, and raises some questions. So as well as I was involved in all, like in many projects, I worked as a software consultant, then I went and managed a construction company, then I got into construction management, and eventually I ended up in a huge design consultancy, Sweco. And after that, I went and built my business. I was also a BIM marketeer and cheerleader. So, you know, I Googled around what the possibilities and benefits there are. So let's refresh those. So zero errors on site. You might have heard of it. 30% lower construction cost, 40% and more less change management. And maybe you know this one, where we will push all the design decisions to the start of the project. And of course, architects and engineers will get back together, working in an integrated project delivery environments, producing thousands of options for clients to choose, and all the drawings and everything will be generated automatically. So that's the story of BIM. We know this. I showed it since like for 10 years. I showed this graph, which showed which shows that construction industry is lacking productivity. It even like every non-farm industry is way ahead of construction. So a few years passes, and this is an updated graph which shows that actually it got worse. Then in 2012, it seems like it started moving upside. You can see a little nudge. No, it actually didn't work. And I found this is the last one, and it seems to me that somebody just took and extended the line, not bothering checking. What is happening? Is BIM promise lost? Is it, you know, we cannot achieve the benefits that are presented? And I want to start with this graph, which is very important, because it's the basis of practically all initiatives that are involving construction digitalization, market development, etc. It shows how more and more data is aggregated using ever-evolving BIM technologies through time. Maybe more blood, sweat, and tears from the software that you buy for a lot of money and all the broken promises. But that's a joke. Let's dissect this slide, this graph. And the problem with this is that it's not to scale. And if we check the level 0 CAD and we check level 2, is the completely different scopes of work that you need to do. Because just defining some naming standards and layer definitions is not the same that implementing level 2 into a whole construction environment. It also doesn't show, it just takes this BIM thing and it shows what needs to be done. And actually, I'm aware that there's a more detailed graph of this. I just, for simplicity purposes, didn't put it there, but it shows this BIM thing being developed, but there's no, how's the word, stakeholders, and what the stakeholders have to do to achieve this BIM thing. And there's some misconceptions that these are technologies that it seems that somebody is sitting down, developing them, and you just, when the time comes, you will go buy it, bring it to your office and implement it. And it is shown as a parallel process, which just goes like smoothly, sailing, etc. And that's a big problem, because when, for example, I did that too, I present to my, for example, governments and people who make decisions, they showing this graph, it just makes like seem that it's a like easy task to do that. And when you don't meet the expectation that is very important, you from the optimistic person it turns to pessimist, and it creates tension in the environment. And the second time you want to do the same thing, it's double or triple the work that needs to be done to convince these persons. Nobody said that we will have to work for it. So I want to present a different timeline. And you might think that I will say that, it will take a timeline of a universe to implement BIM. But no, there's a twist here. I don't want you to understand this from this perspective, but I want to take this as an example, because the most efficient thing in the world is evolution of universe. Universe reaches entropy without any, it forms itself in the most efficient manner. And I want to take this concept and put it to the evolution of BIM, how we should transpire this concept into evolution of BIM. So I reformed the graph that we had. It's very simplistic. I just want to spark an idea. I don't want to make detailed predictions, but just to spark an idea. If you take our BIM development and put it on the graph, so we don't have all the level 2 and level 3, because level 2, I don't know when it will be implemented into mainstream. It will be market to market, so I don't want to make predictions. But I want to make some insights about it. So let's look at the BIM part over here. So we have all these dots, and I call these dots gravity centers. And these gravity centers are ideas, new technology, great case project, standard, etc. And let's increase the timeline. And all those, as times go by, all these gravity points are starting to cluster together, which are simple, which have similar physics. They start to cluster together. They cluster together into value nodes. So the good example of value node is BIM Coordinators Summit. It sparked with idea, some chat, maybe a smaller scale, and look at where are we now. And these value nodes need to have connections between them. And when enough connections will be made, we will reach integrated BIM, our holy grail, which will bring all the benefits that we're looking for. And the point I want to make is that there's nothing we can do too much with it. There is, if you want to make universe evolution faster, the only thing you can do is to put energy in it, in the system. By putting energy in the system, you can make the evolution go faster. And from this, I want to make few takeaways, practical takeaways. BIM will evolve naturally. And implementing standards when there's no real gravity centers creates tension and creates something that's artificial. It is not used, and we have separation from where technology goes and what standards we have. That causes more problems than it solves. Connections among systems can be solved only with the direct connection, because as you saw, there are a lot of connections between those nodes, and developing a standard format for each of them will not work, because you will never catch up. So open APIs is the solution, and we have to talk more about how we define protocols, not formats and standards, but protocols, how different systems can communicate with each other. And of course, clusters will form faster with energy that we put in. So the energy can be money, can be time, can be effort. So governmental initiatives, investments will make things go faster. And I grouped these value nodes into these categories, which I think very important. And I then just realized that I'm not saying nothing new here, but let's stick to it, because in like BIM world and now the communication, government API should be changed to process. Like this is how BIM is presented. But why did I put government API? That's because the process is defined by government. And the thing is that we can innovate as much as we want, but if we don't have changes and in what inputs we provide and what outputs we expect, we can innovate as much as we want. We will never reach our desired goal. So if we will get drawings and produce drawings, in the meantime, we can innovate as much as we want. There's a limit of how much we can make and do. So speaking about each of one, so governments should move to non-drawing based delivery, open governmental APIs, and automated code checking, and I could actually fill that list with functionality, what APIs should do. But if we solve this, the evolution will change a course very, very fast. So yeah, that's that. Speaking about technology, so technology is the one which moves actually faster than everything else. And I did a research which you can read in BIM Coordinators Summit magazine, and there's more about it, about how new technologies in IT field compare to BIM's current state. So Web 3.0 concept is actually now like a gaming platform with all these NFTs and metaverse and all these things, but everything starts with a game. And I think that interconnectedness that it brings will have a huge impact on construction industry. And what's the most important about it, that community is involved in actually technological infrastructure. And that community development part, I think, what will make Web 3.0 the key technology for construction industry. And communities. So I think I'm really happy about what's happening with communities in BIM, and I think there's a great future. And I think that if we work more towards building communities, we will see workflows changing in 5 to 10 years. Designers not tying up with one solution, but the productivity increase will be in custom workflows and trying out and experimenting with different technologies. So these need support. So I put few of these, but TGN, for example, is one of them which you should go and support. And I think you just find yours, what's dear to your heart, and go and work with it. So what can we each do? So we BIM coordinators have a lot to do. And first thing is, I think that everyone should join a community. You don't need to be a programmer. Join the community which develops data standards or data models for your industry, classification systems, etc., etc. Experiment, try new tools, new technologies, and the colleague just asked for help for beta testers. Go out, try new technologies. And of course, make and create. Find something that you need to do. You can do actually a lot, even if you are new to this. You can go and the fresh eyes can tell more than fixated experience throughout years, and that's really important. Go out, learn programming language, and build your solution. So I think that we can achieve much more than the first promise said. If financial sector can do, we can do it. So let's go and create. Thank you.